get by. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I'm here with the founder of Visme.co, Payman, and I will formally introduce you, Payman, in a second. Before I do, I always like to mention other episodes people should check out. Since this is a amazing SaaS company, there's some SaaS co-founder or founders I've had on the show. I had on the founder of Zapier, Wade Foster. That was a great episode. I had the founder of Contactually with Svi Band, who actually sold the company.
I know him, by the way.
Oh, do you know Svi?
Yeah,
he's in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Oh, do you guys talk shop?
It's been a little while, but yeah, before and after the sale thing. Afterwards, he went on and started another company. So yeah, it's been about a year or so. But I met with him.
What can you tell me? I mean, that's not confidential that he shared with you. What did you learn from each other when you talked?
I think this was before the event when it occurred, and this is probably about a few years ago, when we had breakfast and got introduced through, a VC just to meet up and talk, because we've been a company that hasn't gone through that event of raising or maybe M&A and so on. So it was interesting, to hear the other side. I guess the grass is greener, and it's not like, the pros and cons of either side. So yeah.
Right. We'll talk about that. I have in my notes here to talk about bootstrapping, because you bootstrap this company to a large scale, and it's not easy to do, So check those episodes out. There's one with Acuity Scheduling founder Gavin Zaklinski, and he really did a masterclass on not just customer acquisition or client acquisition, but also stickiness and how you put certain touch points into the process to reduce churn. And that was a great episode. That could be applied to any business. It doesn't have to be a SaaS business, but I watch that time and time again. So check those episodes out. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. Rise 25, we help B2B businesses give to and connect their Dream 100 relationships and partnerships. And we do that by helping you run your podcast. For us, for me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. And I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. I found no better way to do that over the past decade than to profile the people and companies I most admire on this planet, that I want to learn from, that my audience wants to learn from, and share with the world. So if you thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, you can go to rise25.com and learn more. And a big shout out to Farzad, the co-founder of Respana.com. They are a link building outreach platform that helps businesses increase their organic traffic from Google. That's why today's interview is happening, because he was kind enough to introduce me to Payman. And so check that episode out that we did together. And without further ado, Payman Taei is the founder and CEO of Visme. You can find it out at Visme.co. He's frustrated with the lack of easy to use tools to empower non-designers. His background is actually in biology. So he's not like this graphic design, studied it. Like myself, my background was in biochemistry. So I totally relate. But non-designers need to speak visually. And so he created Visme, which is basically a Swiss Army knife of visual content. Allows you to produce whatever you need. And is now used by over 16 million businesses, nonprofits, individuals from over 100 countries. Payman, thanks for joining me.
Great. Well, thank you for having me.
I want to start in the bootstrap conversation. You started from biology. I think your first company with like $160 or something like that. What was the iteration that started Visme on your entrepreneur journey?
So I will, I'll make the story as short and sweet as it can be. In a nutshell, to pay my way through school, I always liked design, but I was also into sports and weightlifting and so on. So that's why I was in biology. And then to pay my way through school, ended up, starting to create websites. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. This is in the early 2000s. And, so I was self-taught. And then from then ended up, changing gears, going into just starting my own little web agency and creating websites and designs and graphics for various businesses. And that kind of led me into creating a lot of, with my team, a lot of interactive animated websites. For those of you that were around then, Adobe Flash,
What year are we
Flash
talking?
technology. This was in the mid 2000s to the late 2000s. So we're talking about 2005,
the early days,
11, yeah. And so a lot of the stuff that we did was very interactive, all the animated websites and so on. But then, of course, when the iPhone came out, Flash was essentially a plugin that was no longer supported. Long story short, I took it out to kind of create Visme, which wasn't actually supposed to be for non-designers. It was supposed to be for designers like myself to basically create animated content for websites that could be played on any device, phones, Android, iOS, Mac, PC, and so on. But the pivot moment was where I realized that this could be much different and bigger than what it is. And that's where I myself had a frustration using very high-end design tools. I loved using them. They're very powerful. But one of the problems, such as, let's say, Adobe Creative Cloud and so on, I love using them to this day. And some of my designers use them. But one of the things was that I just didn't like the fact that I have to move from one software to another to accomplish something. So let's say creating an animation or a presentation, go to Photoshop, go to Illustrator, get some vector elements, bring them back in, bring them to Flash, animate them. So in each of them, of course, is made for a very specific use case. So the interface was different. And even as a professional designer, I just thought that this could be easier, could be better, could be different, it could be streamlined. And so putting that together, I figured that why don't we, pivot Visme very, very early on into being an all-in-one platform that anybody with little to no design experience can create anything. The static graphics, presentations, slides for social media, for even websites and so on, infographics, data visualizations, be able to do it in one interface, one platform, give them all the beautiful templates, give them all the graphics and elements that they can, and yet give them the ability to be able to fully customize it. So we use the term like, you can create the ordinary things that look nice, but there's nothing, crazy interactive about them, or create the extraordinary so you can add all the bells and whistles you want. So, we just kind of serve that, it's like the rabbit hole, and on the surface, Visme looks, it's pretty easy to use. It's a no-code setup. It's a SaaS platform. But you can start very, very basic, so you don't have to feel overwhelmed, like, oh my God, there's a big learning curve. But yet you can start, peeling the layers and get into things where you can do more and more with it. So last but not least, but the way that I would explain our platform, because people say, like, how are you different than this platform? How are you different than that? The best way I could explain is that if you were to take a very simple, dumbed down design tools that are great for the purpose they have, to get the non-designers in very quickly to achieve something. And then on the other side, that's the left, and all the way on the right, you have these very high-end professional tools that are really meant for the top 5% of the users out there, creators out there. And in between of it is where Visme falls in. We are bridging the gap between the simple and the powerful, between the platforms that you can get the best of both worlds. And so that's actually been very, very challenging for us, because we could easily pivot to the left or to the right, and then we wouldn't be what we are, and that is to serve the audience who don't want to jump all the way from the left to the right, and they want to get the best of both worlds. That's what our platform is.
What are some examples of how people use it?
So a lot of different use cases. I'll give you a few. We're asked, who is your, ICPs? Who are the very specific people who use it? Well, there's multiple of them. And I'll give you a couple of examples, but they all share one common denominator. They want to create something that looks different than what others are creating. They want to also create content in less time, so they want to be more efficient. And of course, when it comes to collaboration, they want to be able to do it with their teammates and be able to know who did what and so on. So use cases, internal use, most of the use cases are external. So I'll start with that. In marketing, in sales, Visme is used heavily. So some of the leading sports teams, are using Visme. And it's literally been like an organic thing where, one came to us and then others started referring and they've used it. And we never thought that this would be like a use case for, top sports teams and so on. They use it for marketing purposes, selling these, multi-million dollar sponsorships and so on. So on the other
they
side,
may have like a multi-millionaire sponsorship, or they're putting together a package for their executive boxes, and they'll use this to present to people.
Exactly. That would be to potential sponsors and so on. Another use case would fall into, let's say, some of the Fortune 500 companies are using it as a presentation platform fully. There is a few cases where they're using it for HR, for internal use case. So for example, human relations. So one use case, and maybe we can get to later, they're utilizing it to create these interactive kind of resumes, these visual resumes. And so they're part of the job posting and so on to, let's say, recruit for other Fortune 500 companies. It's like a consulting side. Versus, let's say, just having a PDF file. Okay, so that's another use case. Another one is to visualize data. So not just infographics, which most people are not familiar with. In general, they think of presentations, infographics, just very tall page. You've seen it probably all across websites and so on. And that is to kind of take, large amount of information and just make them very simple and quick to understand. So how to explain a process, what are the 5 steps to improve customer retention. That can be an infographic. So you take 2 pages of content and you just format it on the key points and you make it, you create it in that manner. Simple charts and graphs, that's another use case. Another one has been actually more and more, which most people don't know about us, is for learning management. So companies that are tired of using these legacy tools that have they just don't have the ability to create interactive, beautiful content like our platform does, because we have very specific features and assets there. And then having the ability to actually export that content into a SCORM compliant format. For instructional designers would know exactly what I'm talking about. So our platform allows them to create this really interactive training material and so on in a format of a presentation or an infographic or multiple slides and so on, or even as a booklet, and then be able to actually take that into their LMS system, learning management. And the content output is amazing. So we've been getting more and more use case out of that, all the way down to creating ebooks, creating training manuals in a document format. So for example, there are creators that use Visme to create ebooks, multi-pages, and you even literally have a flipping effect. It's beautiful, like it's almost like flipping the page. So you have to actually resort to 2 or 3 other tools just to get, you got to create the content in one platform, you got to export and go to some other platform, and then upload as a PDF and get the flipping effect. In Visme, you can create it all. And not only that, whatever you create, you can actually, instead of just downloading it, which you can publish it, of course, as with any other, content creation platform these days. You can publish it as a public link that for external use, but you can also make it private. You can make it password protected. You can have only specific people go to it. And on top of that, there's full analytics that is proprietary to us. It's our own analytics system we built that allows companies to be able to actually see who is viewing it, how long they're spending on this slide, so they can actually make specific decisions based on that. I could go on, but those are some of the use cases from a kind of an external and internal standpoint.
Do people use it to create webinars?
Yes, actually, we use it for our own webinars. That's great. And, so we have webinars that we do collaborations with various companies. And we just did one, I think it was with Sendinblue. We did one with Lifestorm just recently, Typeform and so on. In all of those cases, we actually create our own. We use Visme to create these very neat, professional looking slide decks. And then the screen is shared, and then we're able to actually present during that. We even have integration in this case with Lifestorm if needed, but you can always, of course, just share your screen through Zoom and so on. So yes, it is used heavily for that as well. There are there's one of the case studies that's on our site. And in this case, it's just, I believe, is a small business consultant. And she actually started using Visme specifically to create these on-demand webinars. So recording through the slides. We have a feature called it's for presenting, so you can actually present live or record it, or you can just record as a screen share, and then that's on the website as kind of an on-demand webinar. So yes, all of those can be done.
I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second, right? And I'm sure you get this question, and people will say, well, there's free tools like Google Presentation,
Yes.
So what do you say to people? Well, I guess use Google Presentation.
You can. And in fact, a lot of people that you're welcome to, there's a lot of options out there, and you're welcome to use PowerPoint, you're welcome to use Google Slides and some of the other tools that are considered competitors to us and so on. A lot of the users actually look for alternatives to those tools, and they come to use Visme. Why? They see what their colleagues are creating. They see what their competitor is creating using Visme versus what the slide decks look like using the other tools. Now, as a non-designer, our platform, and I guess maybe what you could do is maybe just click on the templates a tab, and then you can see all the different options. So let's say if you were to click, presentations, and in Visme, just as an example, we do things a little bit different.
And by the way, if you're listening to the audio, we are showing a screen share of Visme, and there's it's Visme, visme.co, and
or
the templates.
.com. Yep.
Or .com. Okay.
Yep, either one. And in short, I'll give you an example from, let's say, a presentation. We have not just standard hundreds of professional looking presentation templates, but we also, in our case, we call them presentation themes, so that you literally go
Here's
in
the webinar
and select, And so in Visme, you can select the theme, and then you choose to say, I want modern or simple. It depends on what your taste is, or, creative. And you get literally 600 to 900 slides in that same similar style, every possible permutation of content. So in a matter of just a few minutes, you could create this, beautiful presentations and yet bring your own elements and so on. Let me go one step further. Another thing that really works great for brands using Visme is that you can set up your own brand kit. And we have a brand wizard, so you can actually even plug in your own domain name or even upload your logo. And our system through AI will actually detect the color scheme of your logo, or it will look at your website and detect the colors and set up your color brand kit for you. So now the font, the colors, even your logo, and we actually even generate tens of branded templates from a document to presentation to business cards and so on for you. I mean, those are usually for the smaller businesses, but big businesses can actually just quickly set up the brand kit. And now you also have branded templates, and you can even open and access our thousands of templates and be able to apply those themes to it. So another use case is companies come versus beyond just a single user. They come and say, hey, we have, like, our marketing is very concerned about other people in the team, other employees in the company just going and having at it, where they just go and, think about, let's say, the traditional tools or even many other tools out there, multiple people using different templates, and their outcome and their slides always looks different. And that is a big nightmare for brands. So in Visme, our platform allows the marketing person or the designer to create those templates and then apply the branding. They can lock certain objects all the way down to elements. They can make certain things editable, some others not. And so when their team goes in, they will access these branded designs and templates that is true to their brand. And so that the salesperson, all they do is just go make some adjustments, or the marketing person or the social media person can access those elements and be able to work with them without and still being staying on brand. So our system is open, like where nothing is restrictive, but then a brand, if they're looking to come to Visme to use it as their, platform of choice, then they can start really locking things down to the degree they want. We give the flexibility. You decide how deep you want to go and how protective for your brand you can be.
There's a great episode I did with Joel Irway of the Webinar Agency. So I'm gonna have to send him this episode, because this is a great platform for him to recommend. And as you talk, and again, if you're watching the video part, you'll see me clicking around Visme. But one thing I want to point out, Payman, is I encourage everyone to check out the site, because it's really a master class on design and conversion and a lot of different elements. So if you look through some of these through your website, obviously you have a deep experience in website design and creating websites, but you can see there's these elements that are kind of like floating and moving. You have, the headline here is also moving, so it really attracts my attention. You have a lot of social proof on here. between the different awards and everything else. So I just encourage people to just check out what they're actually doing with their site. And then we'll go to the case studies page, which is beautiful too. And we'll check that out. And even from what's interesting is you have a lot of enterprise clients, but you don't have enterprise pricing, which I was actually surprised about.
That's a good point.
So when I went through the site, and you can go to the pricing page, and again, when you're looking at this in time, maybe they're going to raise in the future. I can't control that, but right now, at this point in time, they actually have a free version that you can start using right away, and then they have the personal version right now. I mean, and the business version is super affordable. It's only like a little more than $24 a month. So, how did you decide on the pricing model?
Yeah, that's great. So our pricing, of course, has undergone a lot of A/B testing, and it's gone through different iterations. So we are a freemium model. Everybody starts free. Won't everybody, even if they're looking to get an enterprise plan, they can go create a free account, play with it. And the free version is actually pretty open, where you access most templates and a lot of the assets and so on. And then, of course, when it comes to publishing and so on, there are certain restrictions in place that are available in the actual premium plans. So it is based on like, what are you looking for to use it? If it's, one-off project, it's going to be where it's really for personal use, that's the lower plan that would serve that. And then, of course, the business is essentially the single user or more that would look for that. We don't put the enterprise pricing on the site. I think that's pretty common with a lot of brands. And that's because we actually sometimes create the enterprise based on the solution of the company that's looking for.
It's all customized. There may be a certain number of users, or they may need a certain amount of data, because I can see one of the differences is the available storage.
Storage is big. I mean, there's certain features in enterprise, that are not available in any other plans. We have all the way down to audit logs. It's a big one for enterprises that are like, I want to know who did what, and when. So in our system, we have that as an enterprise. It's big for brands that want to utilize that. The plans are, for very small businesses or just a few users, or the lower two plans are great. And then, of course, when you create teams, the more users you get, of course, the cheaper that we can provide. So enterprise may come in, and it's not just tens of users, hundreds. And in that case, we have very specific options that will work for them.
I'm using, as I'm scrolling through the pricing page, you can see, again, some great social proof on the page. You have IBM, the Golden State Warriors, Penske, Unilever. What did you do with IBM?
So, they have been with us for a long time. And it's very interesting. Their use case has been, they came to us. In fact, pretty much majority, if not all of our brands have come to us. So we don't really seek them, although we do have a very small sales team now. Their use case has been for recruiting. In effect, I think there's a certain department in IBM that is doing hiring for other brands, and so these are very exec roles and so on. So those roles, they require a higher level of acquiring those types of talent, and so the job posting, instead of it being, let's say, just a standard job posting, it is created as almost like an infographic style. So in Visme, you want to think of it as a canvas that you can essentially combine anything. So you can create anything in any format, any digital format you can think of, and then you can actually add anything to it. So graphics, that could be an image, logo, text, videos. You can embed anything from a third party. So you could actually create a document or presentation of Visme. You could embed your own website on it if you wanted to. You could embed, a Twitter. You could, another one is charts, as I'm looking at the site you're showing. So one of the things about Visme is about creating, empowering brands and individuals to be able to be more efficient. So there are actually case studies and companies that use Visme where they save over 70% on design costs, on productivity costs. Well, how does that happen? Well, one platform, so that your entire company or very specific departments can use it for any type of content short of very long documents. Like you want to create a 300-page legal document, Visme is not a platform for you. But anything else that contains images, text, graphs, data, visuals, and so on, this is the one platform to create that. It is cross department. It can be utilized. And additionally, when it comes to data, you can create charts. We have very powerful data visualization, but it's not, let's say, to the level of Tableau. Tableau is extremely powerful. We stop short of that part. But for 90-something% of the data visualization you want to do, we have data widgets for very small stats and figures. I think you see that on the screen. We also have charts, so that are for larger sets of data, and you can connect that data to live information. So you could connect it to Google Sheets. In our enterprise manager, you can connect it to your own live data. So imagine you create a presentation and it's got data connected to Google Analytics. And the next time somebody loads that, it's going to have updated data. Or you can actually take data from SurveyMonkey, from the survey you did, and you can actually visualize it into Visme through a chart. So you have the data that in that aspect as well. You could be plugging in data from some other place into Google Sheets, and that data can feed directly to a Visme chart. And it's very easy to set up, doesn't require any coding. So you now have live data. Another part in Visme is you can actually, we have these variables. So you can set up dynamic fields. I'm going a little bit more advanced. It's literally like a text field. And you can create your own fields beyond just the name or company name and so on. And those fields can be shared across all your teams, those variables. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that your company is in marketing and sales, and there's a slide, and that slide talks about the number of employees at your company. Let's say it's 297. And in 2 weeks, 297 could be 305, it could be 267. Imagine having hundreds of slides, and that information, maybe it's the revenue information, maybe it's some other stat, changes daily and so on. So in Visme, you can have that one variable, and that variable contained in every single document, presentation, and so on. The moment you change it, it will reflect on every single design. The next time somebody views it on a link that was sent to them, the next time one of your colleagues opens it and edits it, it is there. So you can create these live documents and presentations and information, be it for charts or be it down to single variables in Visme as well.
I want to talk about, Payman, being a software, even if someone has a service out there, there's a lot of feature requests. Or if you're a company, there's maybe a lot of service requests. Hey, can you do this for me? Why don't you do this? How do you decide on, how do you log those feature requests? How do you decide on what to execute on? And I want to talk about a recent feature that you actually implemented.
Yeah, so there is, there's always, at this point, it's 17 million that needs to be updated on our site, registered users on Visme. And we get inquiries all the time. Reality is we can't and will not do everything everybody asks for. So yeah, there is a feature request tab that is essentially anybody can request that. Any user or even non-user can actually say, hey, it'd be great if you have this feature and so on. And they vote on it. So the popularity on it, that's one factor. But our support team is constantly paying attention to what sticking points users may have. What is a common area that the users are asking? It would be nice if you had this. If you had this feature, I'd be consider that. And then we kind of consider that data over time and see what makes sense to create. That's one. Another one is, look, we have our own set of ideas a set of ideas that actually contains features and improvements that we like to build. So a lot of what's in Visme has been based on ideas that we had a long time ago. And so we use that as well. So for example, there is a number of features and improvements that we have internally for the next 6 months have already planned, and we know what we need to create. And so it's a combination of all. But then also in certain cases, it may be the larger teams and enterprises. And certainly we pay a little bit more attention to when 2 or 3 enterprises ask for something versus just 2 or 3 free users ask for something. And we have to find a common denominator. And we prioritize and we decide what is the lowest hanging fruit that makes the most impact for
you
most
can see
users.
Also here, spell check, and it even says in progress here.
Yeah,
and there's
absolutely.
48 votes here.
Yep, that's right. Correct.
This is awesome. So you implemented a whiteboard feature.
Yeah, we just launched the whiteboard feature. So we noticed that more users, when they come in fact, it started with one of the employees in customer success that joined, and she was a couple of years ago using the presentation format. And we have all the elements, drawing, arrows, and all that, the basic stuff, notes. And she was using Visme to create like these little basic mock-ups or to brainstorm ideas in when we're doing Zoom meetings, right? And we're like, the heck? I mean, like, she's like, it'd be nice if I had a bigger canvas instead of like a presentation slide. And of course, it also was part of our long-term vision is that we want to be the all-in-one visual communication platform for brands. And brainstorming is a big part of it. I love the whiteboard feature that we've created. I use it on a regular basis for ideas and features. And one of the things that's a little bit unique about ours is, yes, you can do the pencil drawings and notes and so on, but you could pretty much go into Visme's entire library of all the assets and graphics and elements. You could drop a video and draw a line to another. You could do mock-ups. You can drag and drop images and crop them. You can go beyond just simple static notes because there are certain use cases. Let's say you're doing a video production, so you can drop images and go from this scene to that scene, and you can actually have an end result video. And so there's more things down the road that we have, and it's an infinite canvas. So you can kind of brainstorm your biggest ideas, and then from there you can actually use it to create additional Vismes and so on. We have other ideas that are going to come beyond that. That's in the phase 2 and 3 down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you again were just listening to the audio, I went to Visme, and the bottom navigate, like very much at the bottom, at the footer, you can click on feature requests. I was scrolling through some of the examples there, and I want to ask the last question, Payman, about culture. But I do want to encourage people, check out, I love what you've done with the case studies page. So check out the case studies page and how they've done this and how people are actually using this to improve their business. And I challenge people to think about, do you have something like this showing how people are using your product or service for your business? So check out that at visme.com or visme.co. Culture. So you have over 100 people remote. How do you maintain culture?
Yeah, so we're reaching close to 100, and we have Team International, and of course in the US as well. We used to be, a good portion in the office. I'm in the office right now, but there's only a few of us here, and even those that are close by, that work remotely, have the option to come in and go. So in terms of the culture, is one of the things that when we do hiring, and it's literally a requirement, we actually gauge on that. We want to know before they come and apply, did they even use our platform? Have they used it? What do they think of it? It's no problem if there's not their passion and they're not heavily interested on it, but we want to make sure that whether it's a sales, whether it's a marketing, whether it's an engineering position, they go and use a tool and read about Visme before they apply. And if they apply and then we have an interest, we want them to be that, hey, and a question that we have is, I want you to go spend 15, 20 minutes, not 5 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes at least in Visme, play with it and check it out and see if that's something you want to be a part of. If you feel very passionate that, hey, I want to spend the next few years working on this product, and you believe in the vision, and there's certain things we provide to them. If that's how you think and that's what you think aligns with you, then, come and join us because we're creating something amazing together. So passion about joining, Visme is a big thing. Well, we do consider ourselves, it sounds very cheesy, and we say join the Visme family, and we call ourselves Vismeers, and so they all have one common denominator, and that is where they want to make the product better, they want to make the brand better. Culture-wise, I'll say bluntly, I don't like to hire assholes. Like you gotta be, nice person, down to earth, genuine, open to constructive feedback, and also not afraid to speak your mind when you really feel strongly about something that's going to help to better, the platform for the users and our audience. So those are some of the qualities that we really look for. It's worked great for us so far, and hopefully work good for us in the future.
So last question, Payman, and I want to point people to check out visme.co or visme.com to learn more on what they do. When you were in college, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up? Because you majored in biology.
Yeah, sports medicine. That's where I was going to go.
Then it took a turn from sports medicine to web agency to SaaS to millions of users later.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's, you just got to pivot and go to what you really like, and I don't have any regrets. I still love, of course, biology and so on. I follow it, love the whole thing about evolution, everything. I think that's actually a natural course. Like when you talk about biology and then you're talking about, let's say, SaaS or products and so on, it's ever evolving, right? So it's constantly evolving and changing, adjusting, fine tuning. Things that don't work, you get rid of, or you refine them. So I think it's kind of that. It's the product. So you can see little excerpts, like when you go to About Us page and we say, hey, the evolution, and we use certain terms like that and so on. On our About page is really interesting. It's like almost like Jack the Beanstalk, right? So you can see that it's this like beanstalk that shows like the, how the Visme from the now to like the before that has adjusted and changed. So yeah, those are some of the cool things that we'd like to emulate. And I would also say is that, like the product, we talked about it earlier about Respona, which is it actually was created to solve a problem that we have. Like we use the product, our outreach team uses it. And it's because it goes by the same philosophy Visme was built. Like Visme is made so that you don't have to use 4 or 5 or 6 different tools. I absolutely hate it. We like to purchase as least amount of SaaS software as we can, as much as we are a SaaS software. So for Visme is like, hey, I can get my presentation tool, graphic design tool, file repository for us, like managing our files and so on, for short videos, for social graphics, for creating documents. Like, hey, there's 5, 6, 7 different platforms out there, and we could do all of that in one, and it's going to save us less. It's all in one place. It's managed. That's that. So like Respona was like, hey, we're having a lot of challenges here trying to build outreach for links and for SEO and so on. We got to hire like SEO person. We got to hire data entry person, and we got to hire have a whole team of individuals that are like collecting data and emailing, sending emails. So it was like 3 or 4 different software, and we're like, what the heck? There's got to be a better way to do it. All in one tool to be able to do all of that in one platform, and that's that. So that's kind of our philosophy. We'd like to bring things together, consolidate it, and just make them easier to use, so that people don't have to have too many choices of different applications and different endpoints.
Everyone check out Respona, check out Visme, check out more episodes of InspiredInsider.com. And Payman, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.